Hey everybody, this is Sam Ballard from the RPM Podcast. Planning an event and looking for a great time? Go no further than RC2U Racing for all your portable family entertainment. RC2U turns any occasion into a competition. Check them out online at rc2uracing.com.
And here we are again, episode 169 of the RPM Podcast. That's right, I said 169.
Woo!
It is April 14th, 2020 at 7:59 p.m. on a Tuesday night. We didn't broadcast last night because of the storms rolling through. I was out of power for 3 hours here, and we were just afraid we were going to lose power and hurt the equipment. So we didn't do it last night. So we're doing it tonight for a Wednesday morning show. I'm Scott Riggleman down in Manchester, New Jersey at my Edge of Divorce Motorsports studio. My brother, Tim Riggleman, a well-known spotter in all types of motorsports and homeschool teacher. Tim, how's the homeschool going up there in Farmdale, New Jersey?
Ironically, it is now spring break as far as homeschooling goes.
Oh, so you get a little breather?
Yeah, we're on break from being on break, yes.
Tim, I'm just curious. Whenever I talk to a parent that I know that's homeschooling and stuff, the first question, first of all, I ask them is if they heard anything about the kids going back to school. And the reason I ask that is I have a feeling that's going to have something to do, but maybe when we have a chance to go back to racing. I know in Pennsylvania, a lot of people I talk to, their schools got canceled for the rest of the year. Do you have any idea when your kids might be going back to school, or have they been canceled for the rest of the year?
No, they know. When do you go back to school?
The decision is on Friday.
Oh, they're going to make a new decision on Friday.
This Friday, they're going to have a new decision?
Yeah. As of now, it's what, though? There's a date.
Apparently,
May 30th?
Oh, my God. I don't want to give it up. You should graduate. You should get done with school around June 19th anyway.
Yeah. I don't see that May 30th happening. Scott, what they canceled the Ocean County Fair. That's in what?
I know, and that's not until like July, right?
Yeah. So, I mean,
I tell you what, when I saw that advertised, I'm like, you know what? If they're canceling the Ocean County Fair is huge. I mean, that's gets as much people drawn to it as a cup race. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
And when I saw that was canceled, I'm like, man, that's a bad slide towards Wall Stadium opening it up. Not only that, but technically Wall Stadium is in Belmar. The real address is West Belmar. It's really not even Wall Township. And I noticed the town of Belmar has already canceled all their type, seafood festivals, parades, anything that involved in the town that the town has something to do with, like a fireman's fair and stuff like that. They canceled everything for the whole summer already. So that kind of scares me too about Wall Stadium getting started too.
Not that I want to open another can of worms about Wall Stadium, but we were always told that they have to hold at least one race a year there for the grandfather clause. I wonder what happens if they aren't able to, under these circumstances, not be able to open the track.
You know what? In a circumstance like that, I think it would be forgiven because it's not the track. The track wants to run it. They're shut down. I'm dealing with the same thing with my business right now. I want to work. But when I apply for these loans that I'm trying to get to help save my towing company, the one thing I got to emphasis when I do, I say, listen, you guys are the ones that the government's the one that put a travel ban out there and got the cars off the road. Now that the cars are off the road, they're not breaking down, they're not wrecking. It's hurting my towing business. And that's why the leg I have to stand on to get some of these government grants and loans to try to save my towing business, which is struggling right now. So I think the racetrack could do something like that too. Listen, we had a full 2020 schedule set up. We plan on racing. You told us we couldn't, so they can't lose their grandfather's clause over that.
A lot of the tracks are going to where they're going to do a couple races and do them pay-per-view. Do you think Wall Stadium could do something like that?
I mean, I'd be up for it. It would at least get me back out on the track. But the problem is that just the amount of people you get in the pits is too many people.
It'll be two divisions at a time. That's it. Factory stocks on one side.
Maybe have factory stocks and say the sportsmen on the same day and park everybody separate from each other and keep everybody away from each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be willing to do it. I mean, there was a couple Sunday shows when we ran indoors there where there was probably not more than 100 people in the grandstands. I don't notice if there's 10,000 people in the grandstands or 100 people in the grandstands. So I'd race in front of empty grandstands,
Mm-hmm.
It would even be cool. And I'm not a promoter or a track owner where I need the extra money, but even if they did it and did it like on YouTube Live or something, not
For
so much
free.
Yeah,
just to get a race in, right?
yeah, just to get a race and get the grandfather.
I would
call.
even go to far as to help the racetrack out if they were forced into a thing like that where they had to put a race on just to save the rights to be a racetrack. I'd be willing to race for no purse either. You know what I'm saying? Just to help.
In the technical world, you might have to race for $1. It might have to
Right,
be,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Give us $10 to win, and let us in cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean,
well, I was going to bring up what you mentioned before as we were talking about the Ocean County Fair and whatnot. Now, I haven't heard anything about the Monmouth County Fair, but because Monmouth County Fair applies to Wall, because they at least used to have that one, I think it was like the Wednesday night of the fair, where they'd have a bunch of the race cars come out and be on display. The Ocean County Fair applies more to New Egypt Speedway, which is somehow technically in Ocean County, and they would have, again, same thing, they would have cars come out. So I don't know how that's all going to play out, but now the other thing is you're talking about that one race a year. I would still imagine, I guess I'm being a little bit hopeful, but I mean, it's things would have to get, not that they're not bad now, but I still see Turkey Derby coming into play. Because that's what happened even after the track had closed previously. They still ran Turkey Derby and kept that clause.
That's why they ran Turkey Derby that year.
Mm-hmm. So, we'll see have to see how it plays out. But I
imagine with
imagine
this whole coronavirus thing, Josh, it's like one day I'm like today, for example, today was a nice day out. I did have some work today. I was busy today. Like today felt like a normal day to me. Like it felt like there was a little bit more traffic on the road. I seen landscapers out cutting grass. I seen more people walking around. I'm like, all right, this is clearing up. But then like a day like yesterday when it's all doom and gloom and the weather's bad and it's cold and rainy out and you're sitting and listening to the news and seeing things that are closed for a long time and still going to be closed for a long time. It's like, man, this thing ain't going away no time soon. So every day in my personal mind, it changes every day where one day I'm like, man, we ain't racing. And the next day I'm like, oh yeah, man, good weather's here. We'll be racing before we know it,
Well, I actually, last week, I want to say it was Thursday. They was just after they had announced that whole everybody is supposed to wear a mask when they go shopping now. I was on my way home from work and I stopped to grab some beer. And I didn't even think about it. Walked right into the store. And nobody gave me a hard time, but then when I go to,
you know what's weird about that, Josh? They look at you like you're the weirdo now. Before if someone walked into a store with a mask on, you looked at them like they were the weirdo. Now you're the weirdo without a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And then this morning I forgot to bring a proper something for a bandana or whatever, and I went to Wawa for my coffee, and I had to get gas to go to work today. And oh damn, I forgot my mask. I just took my hoodie and wrapped it around like a big scarf or whatever, and I'm walking in, and I didn't get any looks. I mean, it was the most half-assed thing, and nobody could have cared less. It's so surreal.
While we're talking about Wawa as a truck driver, I want to thank them for at least keeping their bathrooms open. The biggest challenge I have now as a truck driver and being on the road from 8 to 10 hours a day is finding a place to go to the bathroom. Before you can stop at any deli, any gas station and use the bathrooms. Half the delis you stop at now, the bathrooms are for employees only now.
Yeah.
Literally, I stopped at a truck stop today to use the bathroom, and they had the cases of water stacked right in front of the door, so you couldn't even go into it. It said, bathrooms closed to the public.
That's why you need those the big
truck drivers. Wawa's bathrooms are still open, so a truck driver can pull in there and at least use the bathrooms at Wawa.
That and stock up on the Gatorade, the wide mouth bottles.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I tell you what, I'm getting to the point now where I haven't been buying food out. I kind of bring food from my house. Like I make my coffee at my house and I grab a couple of granola bars and hopefully get in a protein shake to get me through the day. I'm to the point now I'm nervous to even buy food at a convenience store right now,
Honestly, I would my lunch and the rest of my drinks I bring from home, but my coffee, if I make it at home, for some reason it goes through me like a laser beam. So I go to Wawa for the coffee, still, just to get me through a bit longer. But yeah,
I mean, we weren't planning on starting the show about talking about when we think Wall's going to open or when we think the short track racing is going to start. But while we're on the subject, let's keep going with it. Do you guys think? See, here's the problem with Wall Stadium too. It's really the closest racetrack to the hot spot, which is New York City.
I thought you were going to say Lakewood. Yes.
What's that?
And Lakewood.
And Lakewood, yeah, we're I don't know if you want to use the word hotspot or ground zero, but we're in between two hotbeds of this coronavirus. We're between Lakewood, New Jersey, and New York City. And me and Nancy were talking. I said, Nancy, do you think we'll be racing our enduro cars in Pennsylvania before we'll be racing our factory stocks at Wall Stadium?
I was talking to somebody.
Absolutely. She's like, we think we're going to be racing at a track like Big Diamond. Quick funny story about Big Diamond. They're one of the few racetracks that have not come out and said we're canceling every date in April yet, like everybody else. They still, like, every Wednesday, oh, we're canceling this week's racing. You know, it's like, yeah, no kidding.
What were you saying, Tim?
They're still trying to open every week. You know, I just have a feeling that I'm going to be racing my enduro cars out in Pennsylvania before I'll be racing my factory stocks over Wall Street.
I think that's a possibility. Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
I agree 100%. I was talking to somebody yesterday. I think you're either going to be racing Pennsylvania or down south somewhere well before you're going to be racing anywhere up north.
Okay.
Right. And you're talking about up north too, like from Wall Stadium north, like even to your tour type tracks, right, yeah. Tim? Like you're afraid Thompson might not even open anytime.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing up north. Because Connecticut's got to do what Connecticut has to do what New York does, because a lot of people commute from Connecticut to New York, and a lot of people from New Jersey go to New York to work, and vice versa. So all three of those are going to work together. Now, Pennsylvania is kind of like its own state, I guess. You know, this is not any. I'm not talking political. I have no idea about political, but I'm talking about people commuting and stuff like that. So they're going to New York's whatever New York does. I think New Jersey's going to do. And Connecticut's going to do.
Okay.
Now, here's another question for you guys. When this thing does get rolling and going again, me and Kevin Ayers had a conversation about this the other day. I think he said he thinks everything's going to be empty. He thinks the grandstands are going to be low count and the car counts are going to be super low count. I kind of feel that the grandstands are going to be crowded, but they're going to be watching low car counts. I think the grandstands are going to be crowded because, number one, the people are going to want to get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have big time cabin fever. They want to get out of the house. People will be able to afford to pay the $20 to get in the grandstands. But a guy like me might not have the money to spend the money to field a race car. You know what I'm saying? And if I do have some extra play money, am I going to be afraid to spend it now? Because, you know, this is something we've never seen happen before, and it's scary. You know what I'm saying? I'm just lucky I had some savings to float myself for a while, you know?
I think you're right, Scott. For the most part, you're going to see a huge boost from the people that, like you said, cabin fever. Some people might be restricted because of, you know, maybe everything that all their monthly bills might have to go on their credit card now. And so there might be an issue for a handful of people, but especially the racers, regardless of now you have all the time in the world to work on your car. If you can't afford to buy the parts for your car, or to, you know, actually actively get it to and from the racetrack and everything else that's involved with doing it. Yeah, you're going to see possibly quite a few low car counts, but I think it's going to hit different divisions differently, just based on cost.
Right, I agree with that. And then I read an article about the guy that owns Wyoming County Speedway out in upstate New York. He thinks the opposite of me. He thinks the car counts will be fine. He says because racers will race no matter what, and they'll always scrape together what they need. He thinks it came at a time when most people had the money spent on their race cars where it's already redone and ready to go racing. He thinks he'll be okay with car count. He thinks his fan count's going to be low, not because of a money thing, because of a health thing where he thinks people are going to be afraid to sit next to people in the grandstand. So they're going to stay away because they don't want to catch the coronavirus that might still be lingering in the area.
Right. Honestly, there may be a stigma around being too close to other people. I mean, how long until people start shaking hands again? Let's
Never. The handshake's over. The handshake's dead, and I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm a fist pumper anyway. I'd rather just nod and say hello. That's fine with me. I don't need to touch your sweaty hand.
Right. Okay. Well, I
I'm
just
definitely not a hugger. So the hugging died a long time ago, and that went to a handshake. And then now I'm pretty happy the handshake's probably going to not survive the coronavirus.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are not going to. It seemed awkward at first, but now the new normal is going to be no handshake.
My towing business is so weird because usually when I go to pick someone's car up, I always greet them with a smile and a handshake. And now it's just like, hey, man, I'd shake your hand, but you understand, right? He's like, yeah. And then on some of my accounts, it comes through a phone app, and I need the customer to sign off on the screen.
Oh, they got to touch your phone.
Those days are open now, too. So I just tell them, like, listen, I'm typing your name in, and I'm just going to scribble your initials. I'm signing for you. I just don't want you touching my phone, and I don't want you to think I forged your name. It's just showing that I came and picked your car up. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I've been handling that.
You got to get one of them little sticks.
Yeah, but I don't even want them touching my phone. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but even if they touch that stylus, now Scott would have to wipe down that stylus.
It's so weird. But you know what? In a way, it's kind of good. Number one, I got a thing now. No one can ride in the tow truck with me. That my insurance company sent me that. All my accounts sent me that. There's a no ride policy now. So now I don't have to ride in the cars with strangers anymore. And that was always awkward. Another good thing that happened for me too.
Do you keep like an axe or a chainsaw just to make it more awkward?
People don't even want to talk to me anymore when I get there. So kind of, all right, my car's here. I left the keys here. I left the money here. Leave a receipt in my mailbox. That's it. I don't even see the people anymore. So it's kind of good in a way, It's definitely changed the world quite a bit for the worst and in some cases the better, I think we're going to see a lot of these companies keep their curbside pickup going.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these restaurants that didn't deliver food, that started delivering food because of this, are going to keep delivering food now. So I think it's really going to change how restaurants operate too. Plus the auto zones and stuff, they started doing curbside pickup and stuff like that. They might even keep that going too.
Scott, have you noticed with because we mentioned Wawa earlier, that because Wawa is always known for everybody will hold the door for you, but they'll run you over in the parking lot. But there were like for today, for example, there was a guy, he tried to hold the door for me, but with also staying away from me. So it was an awkward holding the door. Have you noticed that?
I got a quick funny story. Yesterday, I picked up a car, a Caliber collision on Route 37 in Toms River, and I went in. I dealt with the secretary, but you know what the secretaries are doing now, which is pretty smart. They're putting like a white fold-up plastic table, like you're using right now, Josh, to have your computer on. Yeah. They're putting that in front of their desk
to keep the space.
Yeah, it's a buffer,
Mm-hmm.
So I did what I had to do with her, paid her, got the receipt. She's like, all right, there's a guy named Matt in the back. He's going to give you the keys to the car and show you where the car's at. Well, I drive down there. He actually put a nail on the end of a broomstick, and he held the broomstick with the key hanging on the nail for me to take the key off, So it's like people are being creative, you know what I'm saying? And like you kind of look at each other and laugh because it's weird, but it's what we're supposed to be doing now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like people aren't thinking you're weird for it. Go ahead, Tim.
That's why I got a big stomach. Can't get
Did anybody see there was a funny video floating around on Facebook where mechanics at a tire shop like Goodyear or something like that, or STS or something like that, they had the big, huge earth mover tire tubes around their body.
No, I didn't see it. I saw the guy with the pool noodles on
over
his
their
head.
shoulders, like overalls over their shoulders, and connected it to the tubes. So when they were walking around, their tubes would hit each other, and they'd be 6 foot apart from each other and stuff. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and I only saw the guy with the pool noodles on his head.
Yeah, pool noodles, like the roll bar padding on his head.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that whatever 6 foot rule. That's crap. You can get it 10 foot away. You can get it whatever.
You know what? Honestly, I think wearing a mask ain't doing nothing for you either. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been wearing the same mask since it started. That thing's probably covered in it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Honestly, I know I'm the wrong way. This is the wrong way of thinking, but I'm one of those guys that's saying if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it, and it's all there is to it. You know what I'm saying? I just feel that I'm healthy enough where if I did get it, I would just be sick for a couple of weeks and I'd beat it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I do notice the people that do pass away from it already had like some type of underlying.
They're fat and can't breathe. I'm both.
Yeah. I mean, Tim, I've known you all my life, of course, and you've always been an allergy guy. This time of the year, you've always had trouble breathing on top of the coronavirus. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
I do have one friend that got it, and he said it was, similar to the flu, but it's the worst he's ever felt. Knocked him out, big time. And then somehow after a week of it, it like concentrated in his back, and he was just in excruciating pain or whatever. And now he's finally getting past it. I mean, he'll beat it, but yeah, it was definitely very strong. And it really took a toll on him. Now, I think luckily I'm back to relatively normal health as far as my blood work and everything. So I shouldn't be. I'm not too worried about getting it. If this was a year or two ago, I'd definitely be probably hunkered down somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I tow for Doug French, and we all love Doug French. I mean, he was a great modified driver back in the day, and he's going through the chemo, Josh. I think he goes Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and when he's not at chemo, he's in strict quarantine at his house because his white blood cells are so low.
Yep.
And he cannot get that. If he gets the coronavirus, it's a death sentence for him. So I tow for him, and it's all through the cell phone, or I deal with his daughters or his son Robert. He's on pretty much lockdown, because he's still battling cancer with the chemo treatment. So
Yeah.
it's scary for a guy like him,
Oh, 100%. It's a rough place to be in for quite a few people. So we'll see how it happens. I've actually been contributing to the research to hopefully get towards maybe a vaccine or some other treatment for it. There's a program, and it's been around for a while. It's called Folding at Home. And anybody can do it on their laptop. It actually started with the PlayStation 3 a number of years ago, where you run this program with just some of your spare computing power. So if you're not really doing anything, you just leave your computer on, and it runs in the background. And it does a bunch of math on how proteins fold, and it's all this genetic type, bio, chemistry stuff. And as it does its math and everything, it submits the results back to, I think it was Stanford, was the original place that was working on all this, and everybody can do it. So basically, the more people that do it, you make a giant supercomputer out of it, and everybody can kind of contribute. It's a really cool way to work or work around and get more information and knowledge, and potentially a cure or a vaccine or something for this. And then after this is over, they'll probably go back to doing Alzheimer's research like they were doing prior. So,
all right, guys, that's enough about the
I
coronavirus. We did touch on the
wanted to answer
virus
your
and how we're all dealing with it right now, and we also put our thoughts in how we think it's going to affect the local racetracks. Unfortunately, we're all in agreement that we think Wall Stadium might have to be the last one to open back up, and we think we might be racing in Pennsylvania before then. We also think that there's going to be a good chance for low car counts and fan counts, or high fan counts and low car counts. I mean, it's something we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But I mean, then the further you go into the season, some people may be like, well, why am I even going to race this year? I might as well just wait until next year. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I got 4 race cars ready to go and race. I got my 2 Enduro cars. I got my 2 factory stocks. Everything's 100% ready to go racing. I just have to hope that I have the funds to go racing when time comes around. On top of my personal funds that I use to go racing, I also use some sponsorship money. Not a lot, but I do get a little bit of help money-wise. And I'm at the point now, too, Josh, how can I go ask my sponsors for money right now? You know what I'm saying? It's just, you can't. It's not fair to them.
well, how heartless are you?
Yeah, and we already sent an email out to them saying we're going to keep everybody's name on the car. If they can pay us, great. If they can't give us any money, we also understand, and we'll keep their name on the car for the year anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's how we're handling that. So we hope they do give us money, but if they can't, they can't. We totally understand, and we don't even know what to ask for because we don't know how much we're going to be racing,
Did you get that RPM podcast check for your car yet?
Yes. I'm still asking for the RPM podcast money. That's for sure. All right. A couple things that happened on the Cup side. It started out with Bubba getting a little bit of a trouble when he was doing his iRacing. He just called Tim. What was that called? It was called rage something.
Rage quitting.
Rage quitting. Right.
Yeah.
He got mad. The race wasn't going his way. It's a video game. He said screw it and shut his computer off. The kids call it in the gaming land rage quitting. His sponsor didn't like that he quit a race, and it showed that he wasn't very professional. They treated it like a real race, like if you just got mad, quit, and pulled the car into the pits and got out yelling and screaming and quit. So they dropped the sponsorship on him. That started that out. And if that wasn't bad enough, Kyle Larson said, hold my beer and watch this. You know what? I've been thinking about this when this happened. When it first came out and it happened, I thought it was going to go away. I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just him and a bunch of friends. He said it to. He said the N-word while they were logging on to get ready to do a race, and it wasn't even through a NASCAR race or NBC Sports or anything. That it was just a group of friends getting ready to do a race, but they were going to show it live where fans can watch. And he didn't know they were on yet. They were logging on, they were setting up, and he said the N-word, and everybody heard him. I thought it was going to be a slap in the wrist thing where he can go take like just apology and maybe a sensitivity class, and it would all go away. But man, did that snowball out of control, Josh. I've never seen anything snowball like that in my life.
And
I mean,
fast,
it started with
fast.
What's that?
It was so fast.
It was so fast where it got to the point where JC Duvall's another one. As soon as it happened, he put on his Facebook page, he's like, who's going to drive the 42 now? And I laughed. I thought JC was maybe exaggerating, but you know what? In the end, JC was right and I was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't think you could get that out of hand that crazy. And it did.
It's the perfect storm right now. There's nothing else to talk about. That, you know what I'm saying? That's what everybody's dwelling on, and that's why it went so fast. There's nothing else to talk about.
I haven't picked an angle that I'm comfortable with yet on this situation. I looked at it from every different angle, and one minute I feel this way, and the next minute I feel a different way. The first angle was Kyle Larson's a younger guy. He grew up in a different generation than, say, even me or Tim. I mean, yeah, everybody knows the N-word's a very bad word. It goes back to slavery. You know, it's bad. We should outgrow that word by now. But then I look at it from Kyle Larson's standpoint. He grew up in an age where every song he listened to probably had the N-word on it, and to the point where they almost say it as it's a celebrated word. So to him, he might not know the true meaning behind that word, and he used it just joking around with his friends. But then again, I look at it from another angle. Well, now that you're a celebrity, you're making millions, and you're representing major sponsors such as McDonald's and stuff like that. They don't want to hear you saying that word. So once you sign those big contracts, you got to rethink your life. You're not your own person anymore. And I always heard through media training and stuff like that, they always say you got to treat every mic like it's an open mic. Like,
yes,
no matter what you say in that mic, who's on the other side, everybody can hear it, you know, so you got to be careful. So he had a mic on and he was getting ready to race with his friends. He should have treated it like that was an open mic to the whole world, because it was, you know, everybody heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Then I see it from Chip Ganassi's point of view. I know a lot of people were mad at Chip Ganassi because it came down to the point where he got fired from his Cup ride over saying one word on a Sunday night, playing video games with his friends. But then I heard Chip Ganassi, and I was kind of mad at Chip too, that he let it get that far where he fired a driver over that, where I think he should have just sent him to sensitivity classes and made an apology and moved on. But the problem is, what I heard Chip Ganassi says, he's got over 300 employees at Chip Ganassi Racing. And by Kyle Larson doing this, he put all those employees in jeopardy of losing their job.
Yeah. If those sponsors pull out, and you have to defend your home base, which is your company and your factory, right?
Another thing Chip Ganassi said too is he's not a billionaire like Rick Hendrick and Penske, where they make their money elsewhere. All Chip Ganassi does is race.
Mm-hmm.
The only money he has to go racing is through sponsorship, and he tries to feed 300 employees and their families off racing sponsorship, and it was either those sponsors or Kyle Larson. So to save the jobs of 300 employees, he had to get rid of one employee which happened to be a star driver, Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Then another point of view I had is, yes, Kyle Larson's a great driver. He's a winning driver, and he did a lot of winning for Chip Ganassi. He probably is their number one driver over there. But he's in a contract year. He's in Tim, what do you call it? A lame duck year.
Yep.
Lame duck year. There might have been tension there to begin with. I mean, he's rumored to go to Stewart Haas Racing. He's rumored to go to the 48 car when Jimmy Johnson retires. There might be friction over it anyway, and it might have just been a perfect opportunity for Chip Ganassi to cut ties with him.
Yeah.
I guess that's possible. Now, my view initially, he didn't say it in anger. He didn't direct it at a specific person, saying you're a stupid, worthless, or something like that. Okay, so it could have been a lot worse if it was a situation like that. Somebody caught him on his cell phone as he was cursing out some guy. But still, I think everybody knows that you just can't say that. Like, end of story. You can't say it over a mic or any place that it's going to be recorded. If this hadn't been recorded anywhere, even if it was just hearsay, I mean, honestly, you could probably deny it and get away with it. Honestly, we know. I think all three of us here have used curses in normal conversation, like the S hits the fan, or something like that, and it's fine. But when it comes time to record, for the most part, we're all pretty good at shutting down, and this is our language for whatever. And the fact that he didn't do that, I don't know. He has to own up to it, and I think he did own up to it. But I don't think that apology video was as sincere as maybe it should have been. And now I know I've been not a Kyle Larson fan anyway in the past, but like I'm saying, he didn't do it with ill intent, but he still did it.
Yeah, I mean, some people are saying now the crime doesn't fit the penalty. A lot of people saying he's getting this. It's like getting a life sentence for shoplifting. I don't see it as a life sentence. I see it as a life sentence with parole. I think he's gonna suffer for a while. I kind of compare it to what happened to Kurt Busch when he was getting in all the fights with his girlfriend and fighting with the press and the media. He lost his ride at Penske and all that stuff, but he overcame it. Kyle Larson's got some work ahead of him now. I mean, he's gonna have to take the route that Kurt Busch kind of did, where Kurt Busch went and drove for Furniture Row Motorsports for a year, proved to everybody that he can keep his cool and stay out of trouble on and off the racetrack and with the press and the media. And he built his career back up. And now he's, in a weird way, he's the top driver at Ganassi Racing, Chip Ganassi Racing now. And he's back doing good, and big companies are willing to sponsor him again. I think when NASCAR racing does resume, Kyle Larson's going to have to do something like that. He's going to have to take a ride with, a lower tier team. He might have to do some, say, Xfinity races for like a Stewart Haas, maybe even some truck races, and build his career back up. And I think by next year, he will be back in a top-notch ride, and I think he's going to land over at Stewart Haas. I think he's either going to replace somebody like a Clint Bowyer or Eric Almirola. I'm pretty sure Kevin Harvick just signed for a few more years, and he's not going anywhere. And I think Cole Custer is their young and up up-and-coming star driver, and his father runs the race team, so he's not going anywhere either. But I think Kyle Larson's going to have to tough the 2020 race season out by running whatever car he can get into on the NASCAR side, and by 2021 he'll overcome this.
Okay. Now I did see that the World of Outlaws said that he can continue to race if he completes a sensitivity course or something. Yeah, which I'm sure he'll do that. Yeah, everybody. Yeah. Okay. Now
but here's the catch with that, Josh. Chevy dumped him. Chevy's not backing him anymore. And unfortunately, his World of Outlaws team runs all Chevys and hinges on Chevy sponsorship. So that's going to go away on that series as well.
Can he still run a Chevy motor but without their sponsorship?
I'm sure you can, but it ain't going to be free no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now he was, or I'm sorry, not was, but is half Japanese, I believe.
Yeah.
Uh, d- I don't
And
think
that's
that
the
gives him
crazy thing. He
any.
came up through the NASCAR diversity program.
Yeah, but I don't think being half Japanese gives you any leeway
Yeah.
for saying something about another ethnic group or anything or another word.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on this too long. We pretty
Yeah.
much said it all on this. He learned from it. Not only did he learn from it, I think everybody learned from it. I think everybody in the NASCAR world, even in the short track racing world, everybody's learned from this big mistake and how bad it can hurt you. One
Scott,
quick
do you
thing I
think?
want to mention while we're waiting for Josh to be able to do the podcast, and I was on Facebook,
Mhm.
and a good friend of the show, Dave Sapienza, he already posted on there. He said, "Kyle, you want to come race my Tour Modified? I got 4 cars. Let's go race, and I'll have a number 36 and a number 63 out there for you." So I think we're going to see Kyle. Kyle's going to rebound from this, and I think he might show up in some pretty cool spots that we might not have thought we'd see him. I think he might show up for a few tour races with somebody like Sapienza. I think he'll show up in a NASCAR truck, maybe with a team like that Phil Gould works for, somebody like that.
Right,
They'll
right.
put a truck together for him. He'll survive this. It's going to take a hit. It's going to be a little bit of a setback, but in the end, he'll survive it.
Yeah, definitely, it's going to impact his career and change the trajectory quite a bit. Scott, do you think Tony Stewart is maybe a little bit more forgiving, maybe because of his past?
Yeah, without a doubt. Tony Stewart would definitely hire him tomorrow and forgive him for what he said, and it wouldn't bother him if he can get the sponsorship. That's the problem.
Right.
Who can he get to sponsor him?
Okay, so
And
Tony
again,
Stewart
Gene
doesn't
Haas
hold
who
any.
owns that team with Tony Stewart. He's just as crazy as Tony Stewart, and he can sponsor it out of his own pocket. So I really think by next year, and I think if this happened or not, I think we were going to see Kyle Larson over at Stewart Haas anyway. They're buddies from the dirt track race, and Tony Stewart always spoke highly of Kyle Larson, and he wants Kyle Larson over there, and now he's got a chance to do it.
Do you think this is going to help Bubba? Maybe something bigger came along, so he's going to be
now he's off
overshadowed.
the charts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do. I agree with you, Josh.
Like, oh, I did something bad, but guess what? Look at that guy. See? Okay, so let's go to well, actually, I don't have it up. I'm not even going to bother. NASCAR basically is going to continue their iRacing Invitational series or whatever.
I talked to my brother a couple of days ago, and Tim, do you remember this conversation? You even said to me, if NASCAR continues the iRacing now, do you think some of the people are going to pull out from doing it now because they're too afraid of losing their stuff in real racing?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe.
And everybody made fun of Martin Truex Jr. for not doing the iRacing and letting Bobby Labonte take his spot. Now people are saying Martin was the smart one by not racing this iRacing because now he can't get in trouble. I don't think it's going to happen now. When I first had the conversation with my brother on Monday or Sunday night, when this all went down, me and Tim agreed that some of these guys are not going to do it now because they're afraid they're going to say something wrong and lose their real deal. I think they just will learn from it, and they know to keep their mouth shut and treat it like they're at a real NASCAR race, and they'll be smart enough not to get in trouble.
I agree with that, absolutely. So let's let's move on to the IndyCar. We talked about, again, I have to apologize to everyone. I made a big boo-boo last week and screwed up our audio. And
just to let everybody know, we almost lost that Charlie Kramer interview. And when Josh messaged me and said, guys, it's got a real bad squeal in it, I don't think it's going to be airable, I was mad because it was an honor to have Charlie Kramer on, and we got good reviews on that show. A lot of people messaged us and liked it. We had a lot of views on it. It was one of our highest rated shows. We want to thank Charlie for coming on. And I want to thank Josh for saving the audio. It came out great. But there was a whole second half of that show, not with Charlie. We just went into our local stuff, kind of like how we're talking now. And we lost all that.
Yeah, it became unlistenable after. Yeah. So I apologize. I should have double checked. I was rushing into it and got too comfortable with where we're at. And so I'm going to pray that this one works out a lot better. But that said, Robert Wickens.
So like every popular show, we have a lost episode. So that's the 168 and a half is the lost episode of our podcast.
Yes.
And listen, I'm fine with that. We lost that episode. We didn't do a nice tribute to Robert Winston that passed away, and we're going to talk about him shortly too.
Mhm.
Other than that, the rest of the episode wasn't that good. It was a shame that we missed our little thing we did on Robert Winston, but we're going to do that in a little bit again.
Yes.
Other
When
than that,
we're,
you didn't really miss much.
when we're dead and gone 50 years from now, Tizzy can dig it up and re-air it, like like it's a lost Nirvana tape, and make millions of dollars off of it.
Oh,
Yeah, but
let's
you know
hope.
what? You mentioned Nirvana. I know they came out with a couple songs. They found some recordings of Kurt Cobain's. And then one song I really liked that they came out with, it was a lost song. But I heard people in the industry talk about it. The reason they were lost songs and they weren't published is because Kurt Cobain didn't like it. He didn't think they were good enough to be published. It was kind of like, yeah, I don't like these songs. They're not good enough. That's why they weren't published while he was alive,
I mean, that's any band that you like. And you like the Door. I mean, I'm big into the Doors too, and every 15 years a new lost song comes out. And they weren't lost. They were just drunk one night playing in the studio, and they recorded it, and it got pushed to the back, and it wasn't ever supposed
they
to.
weren't lost. They just weren't good enough to make it. You know what I'm saying?
So it's like every week on
Like,
this
I don't
show.
keep the videos of me finish 20th in a race. I keep the videos of the ones when I finish in the top 5. You know what I'm saying?
But then again, hardcore fans like that stuff.
No, you're absolutely right. All right. So anyway, before I crack another beer, IndyCar had been at. I'm sorry. Virtually had been at Barber Motorsports Park, and we saw the return of Robert Wickens. And that was just awesome to see. He had some type of issue and started, I think, like second or third to last. Worked his way all the way up to fourth at one point, and then had an issue. He ran like the whole race with a broken wing or broken front wing, and the more you watch and get involved with the iRacing, the more you see how they actually include the realism. From fuel usage and tire wear and everything else. So it was a pretty good feat to see him go that far. I think he ended up finishing eighth or 10th. And Jimmy Johnson, actually, I believe, finished 10th. He actually ran that race. And that was pretty cool to see a NASCAR driver in the IndyCar world. And overall, it was a fun race to watch. Moving forward from that, IndyCar was at Michigan this past weekend. I think it was Saturday, right, Scott?
Yeah, and I tell you what, it was a cool race, man. I enjoyed watching it. The main reason I tuned into it because our buddy Dale Jr. he was in it. He was in the IndyCar race, and I tell you what, it's just like the NASCAR ones. It's very, very realistic. Like Josh said, the one cool thing I liked watching it, we got to see the new windscreen.
Oh, the aero screen. Yeah. So it's like a halo with some Lexan wrapped around it, right?
And they were doing it so real, like by the end of the race, they had rubber marks on the Lexan part of the aero. They're calling it an aero screen, not a windscreen, Josh.
Yes, correct.
The aero screen. It was to the point. It was funny because I was watching it, and Nancy was kind of like she's so busy with the taxis and stuff. She was actually working from home while the race was on, and she walked by the TV to go to the bathroom, and she actually like wiped the TV. She thought there was something on our TV, but it was the rubber, the simulated rubber on the aero screen of the IndyCar.
No, they do a good job with it, and the rear view cameras, they actually have like the heat distortion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's honestly, they do a really good job.
I just really paid attention to the air screen because ever since I started the show with you guys at the RPM podcast, even when Eric Brennan and Sam was doing it, we always discussed what they should go to, and I always came up with the capsule type thing, like on a fighter jet,
right?
And I like what they came out with better than what my idea was, and we actually got to see it kind of in a race, and I like it. I think it's perfect. I think it's exactly what Indy cars needed. You can still see the driver's head, so you're not losing that aspect, and they can still get out of the top real quick if they had to.
I agree. I think they did a very good job.
Perfect thing they needed to make Indy car racing safe.
My only complaint was that IndyCar took so long to do it when Formula One jumped on and did the halo so quickly.
But Josh, not that, I mean, I'm talking like the iRacing's real, but now that IndyCar came out with the halo style with the Lexan in it, do you think Formula One will ever fill in their halo with Lexan?
I think that they will, but I'm kind of curious if F1 wants to be hoity-toity
Second
about
fiddle
it.
to IndyCar.
Yeah, they don't. I kind of
They're usually the leader, not the follower.
exactly, and it's so stupid because it's such an important thing, and it's about driver safety, not anything else.
And the
I
problem with that is too, Formula One's had injuries to drivers that killed them from small parts penetrating their helmet and killing them.
right. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
but the Halo is great for a big part, but it's not stopping a bolt-sized part or
The
a
halo is
smaller
good
part.
for if a tire comes or a wheel comes off.
Right. Or a whole wheel assembly or a wing or
But it's
something
not
big.
going to it's not going to stop a suspension rod.
Right, exactly.
Uh,
Where
and-
the Indy cars will. The aero screen, the Indy cars will.
Yes, or deflect it, I mean, the car may be even if it gets damaged, if it deflects it enough. Again, and I'm not saying it's perfect because we thought the cockpit tubs were damn near perfect, and you look at what happened with Hinchcliffe getting that suspension part through his leg. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is a huge step in the right direction, and I'm glad that they did that. And sorry, my laptop is notifying me that there's an iRacing race going on.
I mean, it was an exciting race. It was a good race. There was a big wreck on the very first on the start of the race that looked kind of corny. It looked a little exaggerated and worse than it really was.
I give you that, yeah.
But the whole reason I watched the race was to watch how Dale Jr. did. He hung around from 10th to 14th the whole race, which was kind of disappointing for me. But in the end, he ran a very smart race where he beat him on fuel. They were running out of fuel in pit, and he got all the way up to third, and that was pretty exciting for him to finish third in his first simulated IndyCar race. And I think he gained a lot of respect of his racers in that race as well.
Oh yeah, I agree. Now for me, there was actually there was a whole cluster F of cars the last 10 laps or so towards the front around where Dale Jr. was until they pitted. There was a lot going on, and I thought it was fairly exciting to watch.
I tell you what, it was one of the most exciting races I've seen at Michigan in a long time. Unfortunately, it was a simulated race, but I thought it was a great race. Yeah,
but I mean, if it works, it was still fun to watch. I mean, again, no other sport can do this right now. I mean, if you try to do this with football, it's going to be guys pressing X, O, triangle, whatever, to, make a pass or something. This is the most easily translated of all the sports.
From a computer standpoint, do you think Dale Jr. used the same exact rig that he used in IndyCar racing that he does in NASCAR racing? Do you think he uses the same rig for whatever he races in iRacing?
I think so. Tim, what do you think? Awkward pause.
I think you might use a different steering wheel, maybe.
I think they do have to use a different steering wheel, right, Josh?
I honestly don't know.
The IndyCar simulated steering wheels.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
They
be
have,
surprised, but they might have that option. They might have like the paddle shift on
Yeah, I
that.
think
He
they
just
did.
doesn't use it for.
Yeah, so I think my brother might be onto something. I'm sure there's people listening to us right now that are in iRacing calling us idiots, but I think he probably used the same rig with the IndyCar style.
Correct us in the comments, please.
I thought it was cool though. Josh, are we going to do the RPM top 10 podcast top 10 for this race?
I'm going to have some notables. I have some notables here because
hold on one second. While you're looking for that, I just want to say something about Dale Jr. Do you think when he was done with that race and logged off, he was like, shucks, I should have tried Indy racing sooner for real in real life? Because he ran good in that race, and I think he really enjoyed himself in that race, and it was a pretty good simulation to what he would have felt if he was driving an Indy car. I just think he got off the computer that night saying, man, I can run with these guys. I wish I would have did it for real.
Oh. Tim, what do you think on that?
I don't know. It is a video game still at the end of the day. If he would have got out and say if he ran that real race and finished 10th or 11th in real life, he might say that. The video game, I don't know. He might have.
He was racing with the best of them. in a simulated race, and the car is a little safer now with that windscreen and aero screen and stuff like that. And I think in the back of his mind, he might try an IndyCar race. Not now with his head, but I'm just saying. I think deep down inside, he wish he would have ran an IndyCar race at least once in his career.
Oh, is there a division of race car you wish you could still race? That you haven't raced? Yeah.
Not really. I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing. I mean, I still want to do the ARCA thing, but I'll never be able to afford it.
The thing is, it's would it be more fun, or would he do it as a trial to prove that he kind of like a Montoya thing that where he did it to show that he could do it? Because money wise, it certainly wouldn't. I mean, he was going to make a ton more money by following his father, staying in NASCAR and stuff like that.
No, I'm not saying leave NASCAR. I'm just saying race an IndyCar race that didn't conflict with NASCAR, or maybe try to do like the Indy 500 Charlotte double.
Like the double thing. I would say the double would be the most likely.
I mean, like for example, this year, if it happens, if the Corona goes away, he would have a perfect opportunity because they're running the Indy road course race the same weekend as NASCAR's there. So that would be a perfect weekend for him to try it. Number one, it's not an oval high speed race. It's a road course race.
Yeah.
And he's going to be there anyway with his NASCAR teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved to have seen him do it.
There'd be a sponsor there willing to sponsor, and there'd be a team willing to put him in a car.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
Fast Nationwide signed up with him to do the iRacing,
Yeah, I think absolutely somebody.
I don't think his wife will let him do it. I think it's a moot point. But I think I just have a feeling when because I think like a racer, I think that night when he went to sleep and his head was laying on the pillow and he had nothing but his thoughts in his mind, he was thinking IndyCar racing when he went to bed that night.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Absolutely. Now to wrap up that race, Simon Pagenaud got the win. Notable finishes. Were obviously Dale Jr. finishing third. Will Power finished behind Dale Jr. in fourth. Graham Rahal in fifth. Alexander Rossi was seventh.
That's what I mean. He beat some big names.
Ryan Hunter-Reay was eighth. Zach Veach was 11th. Connor Daly 13th, and Sage Karam was 14th. I can't remember the name. There was the guy.
Was my buddy Marco Andretti in that race?
He was. He was out within the first 20 laps because of that crash.
So he does just as good in iRacing as he does in the real thing. All right, we're gonna move on from that. My brother's dozing off over there. I want to get going here soon. We knew this was gonna be a quick show.
The one thing worse to watch than an IndyCar race is a fake IndyCar race.
I tell you what, though, I enjoyed it because Dale Jr. was in it. If Dale Jr. wasn't in it, I wouldn't have watched it. But I was home doing some paperwork. Nancy was home working on her home computer. I tell you, Trey, I didn't even know it was on. Somebody on Facebook said, "Hey, the IndyCar race is on." I tuned in, and it was the iRacing. I saw Dale Jr. was in it. I said, "Hey, let's watch it." It was a quick race too. It went by quick. It wasn't that long. It was.
Yeah,
I think it was 45 minutes or an hour or something like that.
Dropping the laps down and this isn't just IndyCar. This has been the NASCAR as well. Has been huge to shortening the races and making them honestly more watchable. Really,
but also because it's computer racing. After a wreck, the cleanup's a lot faster than real life. That's what makes the time go by faster too.
Yeah. There's that. It's harder to destroy the catch fence.
It's a lot easier to clean up fake oil than real oil.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we're going to move over to the local segment. There's not much here I want to talk about, but we did mention it before. We had a good friend of racing pass away while we were gone. Unfortunately, Robert Winston passed away. He was just a real good guy. Me and my brother know him real well because we were good friends with his wife, Tammy. We grew up with Tammy. My brother was in the same class with Tammy from 7th grade on. I say from the 7th grade on because my brother got left back in the 7th grade. Or no, you got put back, right, Tim? You were in 6th grade, you moved to 7th grade, and then you didn't like 7th grade, so you went back and did 6th grade, right?
Yeah.
So he actually moved back.
I can tell he really wants to talk about that.
I was so my brother was in sixth. I was in fifth. Tammy was in sixth. She was 1 year older than me. She was married to Robert Winston. That's how we got to know Bob. We also call him Bob. He passed away from a long battle of cancer. He was just one of those great guys that worked very hard. He was a plumber. He had a great plumbing business. He was just one of those guys that worked very hard all week and enjoyed going, grabbing a sub, grabbing a 6-pack of beer, and going to Wall Stadium on a Saturday night and sitting in the grandstands and watching the races and watching his friends race. I kind of want to. He was like a super fan, you know. He just really, really enjoyed racing. I do have a quick, funny personal story with Bob. I had something broke in my house, a pipe or a sink or something like that, and I asked him if he can come over and fix it. He did. He came over during the week. He fixed it. I wasn't home. I was out working. When I got home, I saw everything was fixed. He didn't leave a bill or nothing. So I called him. I said, "Hey, Bob, I really appreciate you fixing this stuff. What do I owe you?" He said, "Scott, it wasn't no big deal. It only took me about 15, 20 minutes. I tell you what, don't pay me nothing. Next time you win, just thank me in victory lane because we sit right by, you know." He said, if you walked right through underneath the office and made the first left down the steps there, they sat right there. So they sat pretty much right by where you would be in victory lane, you know. He said, just thank me next time you're in victory lane. So like a couple weeks later, I win, and I totally forget to thank him. Totally forget to thank him in victory lane. I'm in the pits after the races, you know, go through tech. We're back in my pit area. We're loading everything up. I see him and Tammy walk across the pits, and that's when I realized I forgot to thank him. I'm like, God, Bob, I'm so sorry. I forgot to thank you. He's like, I know. You probably had a lot going through your mind. Great race, great job. I said, I'm so sorry. I forgot to thank you. He's like, just do it next time. So next time I win, I forget again. So it was about 3 months later, he finally got thanked in victory lane. I won for the third time after he fixed the plumbing in my house. I finally got to thank him in victory lane. So that was pretty cool. It was just like a little personal joke me and him have going, you know. And it was just something we made fun of each other. He's like, I'd come fix your piping, but you would never thank me type thing, you know. Yeah. Or I'd say, well, I would thank you in victory lane, but I'm just going to forget anyway, you know. He was also a customer of mine. You know, if his plumbing trucks broke down or his personal vehicles broke down, I always towed him for him too. So we got to know each other through the racing, through business. He's just a great guy. He's really going to be missed. I know he sat with a bunch of people in that area. I know JC Duvall's one of them. He sat with his wife, Tammy, of course. They had a great little group there. They're the type of people that, you know, would make little friendly bets when the races were out. And they just really enjoyed Saturday night to the fullest. And another funny thing about Bob, too, he really still enjoyed those, you know, pack the track nights when we would bring the race cars down on the racetrack and everybody would walk around. It was funny because I got to know him real good and we were good friends. And he would still come up and get my hero card and ask for my autograph and stuff like that. I'm like, Bob, you really want my autograph? So he always joked about it. He's like, yeah, you're right. I don't want yours. I'll just go get Nancy's and stuff like that. You know, he just enjoyed everything about the racetrack, you know, and he never complained about it either. He wasn't one of those guys, oh, the racetrack should do this, the racetrack should do that. He just went there with his cooler of food and snacks and drinks and sat there and watched the racing with his friends and just enjoyed a Saturday night at the racetrack.
Yeah, he was a good, great guy. He helped me out during my battle with cancer, and I really thought that he was. I know at one point he was doing better, and I really thought he was going to have it beat. And it's such a shame to have lost him. And Scott, I will say better you than me because if he had asked me just to thank him in victory lane, it would probably never happen because I'll never get there.
He'd still be waiting. He might have charged you to fix your pipes, Josh.
Most likely. But honestly, like you said, everything he loved racing and being a part of it. Not that he ever showed the itch to drive, but to be involved, just as a sponsor, to see other people get out there and you know, I think it's one of those things that, you know, no, I sponsor that guy. He's my friend, and that was awesome for him.
Yep. I mean, I remember even seeing him at the banquets and stuff like that. He even enjoyed going to the banquets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's, I think he helped Neil Rudd out and stuff like that. And he's just one of those guys that's truly going to be missed at the racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a different place, and
Bob was the type of guy when I saw him, I always thought to myself, I wish I could enjoy a night at the racetrack as much as he's enjoying a night at the racetrack. Like he simply enjoyed it more than me. Like I go there with a competitive thought in my mind, and I'm too competitive. And there's nights I leave there mad and not happy, and there's nights I even win and get an argument with something, and I leave there mad. He just always left the track happier than he went to the racetrack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He was purely enjoying the race, the racing that was going on, and I think that's awesome. And I think we all should take something from that and learn something from that because he was just awesome all the way around, and it's a really big loss for a lot of people, and I don't know what I can do to make anything any better, but I'm definitely going to be thinking about him, especially if I ever get on the track again.
Yeah, and just I hope his wife Tammy still comes to the races. I mean, they don't live far from the track; they live right in Howell Township. I hope she still comes to the racetracks on a Saturday night. I'm sure it's going to be hard for her to come to the racetrack without Bob. She lost her husband and she lost the father to her children, and not only that, but her buddy that she goes to the races with. So if you guys see Tammy at the racetrack, just give her a hug and tell her that you're thinking about her.
How old was he? Do we remember?
Tammy's a year older than me, and Bob might have been a year or two older than her, so I don't even think he was 50 years old, Josh.
Wow.
I mean, maybe just 50, 49, 50. I'm not really sure,
Do we know what's going to happen to his company by chance? I mean,
I'm not really sure. It wasn't a very large business. It was basically him in a van, kind of like me with my towing company.
Right,
but I did
right.
notice as he got a little sicker, I did have a big job for him here at my house, and I don't know if you would consider them employees of his business, but they were other plumbers that came with him and helped him on a bigger job as he got sicker.
Right.
I don't know if those guys might take Bob's accounts over, or if Tammy can sell the business, or if they're just going to dissolve it. I really don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, again, just a big loss. He was a great guy. It's a shame.
And not only racing, he enjoyed fishing. And another thing I enjoy, he enjoyed bass fishing.
I remember seeing pictures of him catching fish whenever he wasn't getting chemo. He was out fishing.
Out fishing, yeah.
I'm jealous of that.
So rest in peace, Bob Winston. You're definitely going to be missed at the racetrack this year when we do get racing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I as tough as it is, I do want to move on to the Freedom 500. I saw some YouTube videos from some guys that were.
I did finally watch it. I didn't get a chance to watch it. If you just want to tell everybody what the Freedom 500 was.
Well, Tim, I'll let you take that part. Because it was a big kind of race, right, Tim?
It was a real race. It wasn't a computer.
Yeah. What else?
It was a YouTuber who has a huge following and does YouTube for a living. God only knows how you make enough money to buy a racetrack, but he bought they were like anything else. They got tired of taking their motorcycles and their race cars and getting chased and, private property and all that other stuff. So he ended up buying a racetrack and fixed it all up and decided they were going to have a race with him and his friends. They went to a local auction, bought 25 police cars, and
Wow.
20 of his friends had a race on his racetrack, and it was on pay-per-view. And I thought it was going to be like horrible. We all got our friends that we invite, and they're out there just wanting to wreck each other, not wanting to race. Where we're all into the racing aspect of it. And he actually, I thought the last 5 laps of the race were great.
And I tell you what, Tim, those style cop cars, a lot of them have the 4.6 engine in them. If you just strip them out and run them stock on an oval track, they actually run very well. to the point where down south they're starting to make divisions like that. They're calling them like 4.6 Ford divisions. You know what I'm saying? Where basically they want you to go to a county auction and buy an old cop car or old county car or sheriff's car and just strip it and come race it.
Yeah.
No, do you do any modifications for safety?
They had a roll cage in them, and they put nitrous in them.
Ooh, okay. Oh, was it a dry nitrous? Like they just put it through part of the intake?
Yeah, it went into the intake plastic tube.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They call it a one shot or something like that. I don't know much about nitrous.
You know what's cool about those cars too? I mean, you definitely should put a fuel cell in them, but the stock tank is in a pretty safe location. It's kind of between the rear seat, where the rear seat would be, and the rear end of the car. So it's not way in the back, like in the trunk area. It's kind of up in front of the rear end. So it's kind of in a safe spot for as far as a stock tank
And
goes.
they had a kill switch in them. They had to disconnect the kill switch. If they
They have an inertia
yeah.
switch in them. They have an inertia switch in them.
they disconnected those.
Yeah, you bypass them. I had to do them in the demolition derby cars. That's real easy. It's just a little plastic box in the trunk. It's got 2 wires go into it. You just cut them, strip them back, and wire them together. They're just made for the road. If you ever get into an accident, the inertia switch moves in the jolt of the accident, and it stops the fuel pump from running. I'm sure they put a switch in the car, so if they ever had to shut the fuel pump off, they could.
I would hope so. That plays into the 4-cylinder division like we have at Wall even, right, Scott?
Yeah, but they for New Jersey, they had to go to regular racing cells.
Okay, yeah. But I did see some YouTube videos of guys in the race, and honestly, it looked like so much fun, kind of like an enduro. I mean, they weren't just wrecking each other, right, Tim?
No, they were racing.
How many laps was it, Tim?
100.
Did they do 100 laps all in the same direction? Did they do anything crazy where they turn around and went the other way?
100 laps, just like you would do 100 laps.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was good. The racing was good. Like I said, the last 5 laps were awesome. It was like any Saturday night racing you would be in.
Now that was at the old DeSoto Speedway that's been sitting for a few years. Did they have any trouble with the asphalt coming up or anything like that?
The asphalt's tired. It's definitely tired. It didn't come up. They did patch holes in it. They put all new sod in. They concreted the whole infield because they were having drainage problems. He did millions of dollars worth of renovations there already, but it's all donated. All his buddies, he's got a guy that owns a concrete place. He's got another guy that there was a YouTuber who does landscaping that came in and said, I'm going to do all the landscaping, and all the sod was donated from another YouTuber. They got John Deere lawnmowers from the company down the street that was just happy that the racetrack was open again. It's all the YouTube is huge with that,
right?
So like our video and share it.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's all about.
But yeah, no, Tim, you're right, and but like you said, like they weren't just wrecking each other. I mean, they were doing it. I mean, I wouldn't say professional, but they were doing it. In a reasonable, proper racing fashion. Yeah, there was some bumping and banging, and it was good. I mean, there was no camber. It was street tires, from what I could tell. But yeah, and I mean, you could hear the tires squealing and everything. So, I mean, it was not going easy, and it was not the best setup for those tires. They were going to wear out and chunk up and come apart, right, Tim?
They were either some of the right fronts were down to the cords, but it also depended on, like they said before, you got a number. Actually, it was a card, like a playing card.
Okay.
When you went down the track, they gave you a playing card. If you got the ace, the spades, you got the car that had the ace of spades underneath the windshield wiper. That's how they did it.
Oh, that's cool. That's how they drew for what car you drove?
Yeah. And there was cars, if you got a detective car that had 70,000 miles on it because it never went nowhere, that's the car you got. If you got the car that was out on the road for, every day, which it had
like a building inspector had it after the cops had it,
Yeah, exactly. You got the car that the judge's wife had. It had 30,000 miles on it. You don't know what kind of car you got. Some of them were better than others, but they were all mechanically sound. They only lost 2 for
Now,
accidents.
Tim, after you watch that, do you think that track could handle having like a 100-lap, say like a super late model race or something
yeah.
like that?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. It's ready to go. They fixed all the lights. They fixed all the grandstands. They put new electricity in.
Well, they don't have the Musco lighting, do they?
No, he's working on that.
Okay. I want to make sure Scott's happy.
You can see there was one corner that was a little dark. Besides that, it was okay. It was pretty well lit all the way around.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, from what I saw, I mean, yeah, it looked like a night race. It wasn't as lit up as a NASCAR track would be, but I mean, you could see plenty fine for what they were doing, and
every time they went to a in-car camera, it's no different than watching Scott's in-car camera. It's exactly the same.
Right.
The same feel, the same sound, everything. Every time they shoot, I'm like, Scott should be in this race.
Yeah, I think they all had 5.
I inquired about it. I was trying to do something to go down there, but they pretty much had their set field, and that was it. Tim, have they announced anything else they might be doing in the future?
No, it's all to do with this. You can't do anything because of the virus.
Oh yeah. Dumb. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
They're in the same situation we are. Yeah.
What they're famous for is they do something. It's like the drifting and this, in the skidding and stuff.
Mhm.
That's why they put that big concrete pad in the middle.
Right.
They, instead of renting out somebody else's facility, he's going to do it he did it on his own.
Yeah.
So
I'm all for that. Good for them.
and he made it quite clear that has been approached by racing. I don't want to call it divisions, organization series that'll come in with their own crew and their own flagger and their own
their own rules and all that stuff.
He said he's not against it, but he's not wanting to deal with. He has to hire somebody to do that for him.
He's not out seeking that just yet.
Yeah, he just wants to go out there and junk his car out. He doesn't. Yeah, so he said after this year they'll start doing that.
All right, guys, I want to start wrapping the show up. That's the Freedom 500. You can check it out on YouTube. I'm actually going to check that out this week because I didn't get to see any of that stuff yet, so I definitely want to check that out.
I do want
to do what have you learned, or are we good on that?
No, I have some stuff for that, but I do want to say that Tim, while we're talking about abandoned or formerly abandoned racetracks with the DeSoto, North Wilkesboro Speedway is supposedly going to be available on iRacing in June. So, Tim, are you going to get a setup for that?
I would love to. I would love to get 2 setups for the twins.
No. I want to see you race that track.
Oh, I would gladly.
I tell you what, when iRacing does get North Wilkesboro up and running, I definitely think NASCAR E is going to have, or E NASCAR, whatever it's called, is definitely going to have a race there right away.
Their servers might be overloaded with that track, right, Tim?
Yeah, I want to see a street stock race on there with all the good drivers in it.
I want to see if they have the exit ramp from the highway program.
You don't laugh at it. Because when they were just at where were they? I think it was Rockingham.
Okay.
It was the graphics were so on the money that they actually, when they sold a lot of the grandstands from that place.
Yeah.
They were actually, you could see the pillars where the grandstand used to be. The pillars were actually there, so it's that accurate.
You can watch your own demise. That's terrible. Okay, the other thing was Tim had sent us a thing, and I actually did watch it the other night about Tia Norfleet.
You did finally watch that?
Yeah, I did. I was up finally after Bryce went to bed, and it was quiet. I could actually pay attention. And Scott, it was exactly like you described it, where Tia Norfleet essentially. She's supposedly, I don't know about the first, but one of the first African-American females to race for NASCAR. But
we're trying to race for NASCAR.
But it comes down to she bought a NASCAR license that any of us could buy if we had the money, right?
Yes.
And if you go on Racing Reference, the only race that shows up is she raced a NASCAR late model race at a track, and she literally did 3 laps. Basically, it was a short field, and she jumped in someone's backup car and did a start and park.
I mean, look, if I was getting paid enough, yeah, I'll do a start and park, sure. I mean, it's not how I want to do it, but I mean, for the right price, sure. But go ahead, Tim.
We're talking a start and park for a 15-lap late model race. We're not talking.
Yeah. She basically just did it so she can say she's a NASCAR driver.
Right, right. Now, but a lot of it goes back to her dad, who had tried to race in NASCAR and also had, I mean, he passed for some type of NASCAR certification for, I forget, I don't know exactly.
He ran in the truck series.
What's that?
He ran in the truck series.
Yeah, I forget exactly how they designate their licenses, A, B, C, D, blah, 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 blah. But he had
got
allowed
to run up a 1 mile track.
Up to 1 mile or just under 1 mile?
Just under 1 mile.
Okay. He showed up, I forget what track it was, that was a 1 mile track, and they told him, "What are you doing here?" Because
we told you you're not ready for this place yet.
Yeah, exactly. And then he claimed racism for it, which...
And the reason why they told him, because like through NASCAR, you can run like a half mile up to a mile, but not a mile. You know, like you can run like a 3/4 mile Richmond race as your first race.
To like 0.99 miles or something.
Or a road course race. They'll let you run a road course race. This way, road course guys can come over and run the road course race. He did a road course race before he went to Pikes Peak. And the only reason he raced is because it was a 36 truck field and there was only 33 trucks there. So he was qualified because there wasn't enough trucks.
Right.
So he raced the road course race before he went out to Pikes Peak, and he was like 15 mile per hour off the pace. He wasn't even meeting minimum speed. So then the next race was Pikes Peak, and they told him, you know, don't even come there. You got to run the short tracks before we let you race any, you know, a track bigger than a mile. And he went all the way out to Pikes Peak, and when he got there, they told him he couldn't race, and he tried to say it's because, you know, of racism and stuff like that. And it wasn't that. It was just the standard to be a NASCAR driver, you know.
Yeah, and that kind of, and I hate saying this, but at least according to the documentary or whatever you call it, seemed to be a theme that he seemed to cry wolf or cry racism every time.
Well, then he was saying he couldn't get sponsorship because he was black, but everybody struggles to get sponsorship. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter if you're black, white, or not.
And they were saying NASCAR even was trying to help him get sponsorship.
NASCAR even gave him a sponsor, and he screwed it up.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but yeah, I haven't seen her name anywhere else. That's for sure. And I'm not against her. I mean, look, if
they were trying to get something to going with the hype, and it was, you know. And they were trying to get her sponsor and everything, and they were doing all the shows and stuff. And she was saying she was a NASCAR driver, but she really didn't have much credentials to back it up. So people kind of started calling her out on her story, and she never got the sponsorship she was trying to get. It was basically what her father was doing years ago, but now she's doing it because she's of age to be a race car driver now.
Right.
They're just trying to become famous in NASCAR, and it's not quite working out the way they think it should.
They basically made a, you know, like a biography. What do they call those pamphlets that you make up? Like a sponsorship package deal? They
right.
Basically made one of those up, and we're fishing to get a sponsorship.
Right. They were fishing to try to get sponsorship and then have it. Yeah. Her name is Tia Norfleet. If you Google her on YouTube, you'll see what we're talking about.
Or don't, because you're going to give her false popularity.
Right. Yeah, check it out. Tia Norfleet's her name. Her father's race team was called Norfleet Racing. It's a pretty cool story. It's something to watch. It's like 15, 20 minutes long, and you'll see what we're talking about. Maybe Josh can post a link on RPM Podcast Facebook.
Sure.
All right, so that gets us to what have we learned? I want to get going here. What have you learned, Josh? I'm not very good at that game anymore.
Well, did Tim learn anything today?
No.
Well, I learned Tim's on spring break, so he's got a little break from his teaching gig he's got going on up there.
Okay. Well,
Tim, one quick question about the homeschooling. So now what you're doing with them at home, they get credit for that. So now if like say they'll
Yeah.
be able to, if this keeps going like this for the rest of the year, they'll be able to advance to the next grade next year. They don't have to redo this grade again.
That's what I'm being told. Yeah, they're doing enough other, work as far as how many hours it is to meet the criteria. If they're going to test everybody the first day of school next year, I don't know that. You know what I mean? They might test you, then put you back if they have to. But I think they're just going to let everybody slide the year and then start next year.
Me too. All right, Josh, what have you learned?
Well, I I learned it's awkward riding in the tow truck with Scott, and more importantly, I learned that Scott is a pumper, not a hugger. So that's all I got.
All right, guys, that wraps up episode 169 of the RPM podcast. We appreciate you sitting through with it. It is tough to do these shows without racing going on, but we do like coming on and maybe giving you at least an hour of entertainment. We will try to do a show again next week. We are looking for another local racing legend to do a show like we did with Charlie Kramer last week. So if anybody wants to call in next week, let us know. Let Josh know. Let my brother know.
I haven't mentioned.
Go ahead, Tim.
I want to mention that I guess he won the Facebook award this week. Was Jim Smith posted God knows how many pictures for everybody to look at.
Oh, I want to thank him for that. Jim Smith did a great job. He posted over 5,633 pictures, I think it ended up being, of all types of racing. Wall Stadium from like 1996 to present, some Pocono, some Dover, some of it, even the car shows he goes to and stuff like that. He posted some really cool pictures, and he posted a lot of them for us to look at. Check out Jim Smith on his Facebook page or Jim Smith Photos. Thank you, Jim. That was really cool that you posted all those pictures. They're in no particular order. You just scroll through them, and it'll take you a good part of the day to scroll through all those pictures.
But if you're quarantined, you got all the time in the world.
That's right.
That's my point, yeah.
All right, guys, so that wraps up episode 169 of the RPM podcast. Thanks for joining us, and hope to see you at the racetrack soon.
Yep. If not, we'll see you next week right here on the RPM podcast. Right, Scott?
That's right.
See you next week.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.